American buffalo is not a buffalo. It's in fact a bison. So like water buffaloes are only present in Africa and Asia. There's no such thing as a buffalo in the United States. They're bison. So you know how like there's the Colorado buffaloes?
Yes.
Those are the Colorado bison.
This is troublesome.
Do you know about the buffalo nickels?
No.
That's a bison nickel. Like it's
Yep.
literally this entire debate that has gone on forever. Like people always talked about the buffalo population, like how many buffalo were killed. It's like these are bison, not buffalo.
Okay.
And it's very upsetting because I tweeted at the the Colorado Buffaloes and said essentially like, I'm not going to support you ever until you change your name. Not that they care about me, not that they care about them, but it's just really weird. Like doesn't that seem weird? Like we've been misrepresenting an animal, an entire species, since we settled the United States.
It's not all that surprising. I feel like there are things and topics like that that are switched up that we don't really know about until somebody like you brings them to light.
I mean, do you want to
all over the place?
I mean, look at this photo. Look at this photo of a buffalo and a bison. Like they're completely different animals. That is that's a bison. Okay. That's the American bison that people always call a buffalo.
Okay.
Here, that is a buffalo. That's a water buffalo. You see,
yeah.
They're similar, but very different.
Water buffaloes, prominently featured in Silly Songs with Larry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to get that off my chest.
Okay, yeah.
It's been bothering me for a couple weeks.
It's been burning. Yeah.
It has been. I talked about it with some of my roommates, and I was like, this is very incorrect. And why are we still doing this? Why? All right. Welcome to the locker room. I'm your host, Justin Reed, alongside Andrew Tenney, here on the Spokane Talk set here. We are having a great time talking about Buffalo and Bison. Mm-hmm. This is episode number 40, the Derek Coleman Vehicular Assault Edition.
Nice. How about the Duracell edition?
The Duracell edition, the Deaf edition.
Yes.
He is hard of hearing, but he was a very serviceable fullback for the Seahawks.
That's two fullbacks now within the last 3 episodes that we've.
That's a good point. Yeah, the Max Strong edition. Mm-hmm. The Max Strong edition. That was nice.
Got to get Will Tukawafu in there.
Yeah, well, good old Will.
In a couple months.
Exactly. That would be the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I don't really want to talk about this, but I think we're going to have to.
Oh, dear.
Gonzaga. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, once or twice.
The Bulldogs of Spokane. Mm-hmm. The pride and joy of Spokane County.
Emphasis on the joy.
Emphasis on the joy. Right. See, right here. Someone who talks about the key issues. # Team Bison. Thank you, Eric Bjerkestrand.
Yes.
And then right here, so finally someone brave enough to take a strong stance on the Buffalo versus Bison issue. It's very true. These poor bison are roaming Yellowstone, roaming the Great Plains of this amazing United States, and everyone's like, "Oh, look at this cute buffalo," and it's like, "I'm a bison. I'm a bison." I
can assure you, now that you've brought it to my attention, I am irate. I am beside myself, and I am ready to jump in and be an ally to the fight of Buffalo v. Bison.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you, Scotty, for letting me know how brave I am. If you'd like to, as I look at these comments here, if you'd like to talk to us on the show, give some questions, some commentary, we'll be for sure to interact with you on our Facebook Live page here. So give us a comment or a shout out. We'll get to you.
Before we get to something that you're burning to talk about, can I tell you something a little bit more uplifting?
I'm going to be so sad here in a bit that it's probably good that we go over something that makes me very happy.
Why don't we, start with a little luck in our stride here today on the locker room. As you guys know, this show is sponsored by Lucky Bird, a Spokane-based e-commerce and digital marketing company dedicated to helping local companies scale in the online world of e-commerce and digital marketing. Visit luckybirdbrands.com to have a down-to-earth, no-pressure conversation about your digital marketing and e-commerce strategies today. Shout out Lucky Bird, forever and always.
I think the issue from Monday night was that GU was not using Lucky Bird as their marketing specialist.
Probably. Ooh.
Most likely, right?
I'm surprised that wasn't brought up in the post-game analysis, actually.
I should have asked that question in the post-game press conference.
You really should have.
Yeah. Do you use Lucky Bird for all of your digital marketing needs? I'm sure they would have appreciated that. All right, so the Zags lost.
Yeah. I don't know if you had this, but especially in the first half, I laughed a couple times during the game just because it was absolutely absurd, the shot making. It was like back-to-back games, their opponents in UCLA and Baylor, the level of shot making exhibited by both of those teams was NBA caliber.
Oh, for sure.
It was insane. I want to hear your thoughts. Obviously, there aren't really any nuances. The takeaways are very blatant, in my opinion, very cut and dry.
Right.
But I would like to hear what you thought about the game.
So my first takeaway is that Baylor's speed is just redonkulous. Like their quickness, their ability to, I don't want to say foul, but their ability to hand check and body you up like no other team can is very impressive.
It's kind of like in PE, like the kid that tries way too hard, and you're like, "Get the hell off me! I'm just trying to pull up."
Just trying to take this quick jumper right here.
Yeah.
Like, can you get on my face? GU has not faced a team. The best comparison I have to a team like this was the 2017 West Virginia Mountaineers that they faced in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Because then they played Xavier in the Elite Eight. And that was the best comparison that I had because that team was also very much in your face. Like, we're gonna mess up with like what you do. The difference is Baylor was able to frustrate this team in a half-court defensive set. They never put on any presses. Like, they did everything from half court, which was really weird because GU just could not get out and run. And a large part of that was due to the fact that Baylor wouldn't miss. And when they did miss, there was 6'5" Mark Vital somehow grabbing the offensive rebound. I saw a lot of incorrect takes on Twitter during that game. They're like, Baylor's size and length is causing GU problems. I'm like, no, they're not. GU's taller and longer than Baylor's. I'm sorry. It's Baylor's nose for the ball, and they were exuding more hustle than the Zags were.
Their defensive positioning was also off the charts and led to many rebounds. And also with offensive rebounding, I mean, you're going to inevitably chalk a few of those up game to game, just the lucky bounce of the rim.
Right.
And sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't.
There was a time, was it Kispert had a block, and the ball was going out of bounds, and he saved it.
Yeah, which was almost really cool.
Right to Baylor.
Yep.
And at that point, I think I tweeted that, and I said, even when the ball starts to turn on you, you know you have a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, Baylor came out and absolutely blitzed GU. Ended up leading 9-0, 9-2, 7-0, something like that.
And then got to 9-1.
Right after a missed free throw, and it was like, okay, here we go. Like let's keep this thing rolling. Zags were running around out there like they had scurvy. Like they looked tired.
Yeah.
Like they looked out of it. And it's probably a combination of a couple factors. GU this year has been the best team far and away. I mean, it hasn't been close. They have had 2 challenges this year, 3 if you count West Virginia. BYU was tough. They were down at half to BYU. And then the UCLA game was also very tough. So that's also important. It was a very weird game, though. Like, I felt out of place of what was going on. Like, everything was just wrong. Everything just felt off. Throughout the first half, I was like, we just have to keep in striking distance. Like, we're going to go on a run here. We're going to do something. We're going to get back in it, and that run never came. They got it within 10. Which
was a win based on how the first half was played out. It was a win that they were only down 10. And I kind of thought, law of averages, I thought maybe a little piece of optimism going into the second half was that Baylor's three-point shooting was going to come down to earth a little bit, even though they were all year the best three-point shooting team in the nation. But then it didn't.
Right.
And every time Gonzaga would make a run or get a defensive stop and go down in transition and get a bucket and then come back the other way, they would pull up from 4 feet beyond the arc and just nail nothing but net. I mean, they were aces all night.
They were step backs. Quicker passing, but there would be times where the Zags were right in their face, and it didn't even matter. I mean, they were literally. It was a very frustrating game, and I tweeted this as well after the game, and I said I was going to log off Twitter for the night. I was not interested. I was like, Baylor won this game fair and square, whatever I said, and it's very true. I mean, Baylor won this game. GU didn't lose it, I don't think. I mean, Baylor really came in and grabbed this game from the get-go, and GU just hadn't been blitzed quite like that without. And the problem with the Zags, too, is they were missing threes. And GU hasn't had to rely on the three, and they didn't really have to rely on it this game. But, I mean, there were opportunities where they had open threes. If they would have made 2 of those and, their 2 free throws that they missed, this is a 5-point game.
Okay, also, Andrew Nembhard. Yeah, my God. He did not have a handle on the ball the entire game,
I don't know what was going on with that. It was really weird.
Well, the other thing is, so you were saying that they weren't doing any, full court presses, but where oftentimes Davion Mitchell was picking up the point guard was like right after he crossed half.
Oh, yeah,
and so
right
they couldn't even get into a set and even get close to like the arc to get into anything. Right. So they might as well have been playing like a press. That's kind of what it felt like, because as soon as you got the ball over half, it was like
they're on. It's on. Like game on. Yeah. I was asked. I was on a little podcast last night, and I was asked, like,
shout out.
Did it seem like GU wasn't prepared? And I saw a few people talking about that on Twitter, but I don't think it was that. I think what it was, and I compared it again last night to the noise at Lumen Field in Seattle, formerly CenturyLink, formerly Quest. Everybody always talks about prepping for that noise, like being able to prepare themselves for that noise, and they take speakers and they just pump in as much volume as they can. But every single time somebody has a bad game on offense, they talk about the fan noise, and they're like, you just can't prep for that.
You can't simulate it.
There's no possible way to simulate what that field does to opposing offenses and even defenses. And it's the exact same thing with Baylor. They have guard play that have elite quickness. They have elite hands. Are they elite? They're elite players, to be fair, specifically Butler and Davion Mitchell. Teague is just an ugly shooter, but he makes them, which is also very frustrating. It's just something you can't replicate it. You don't have a scout team that can replicate what they do on the defensive end. I mean, Will Graves isn't playing like Davion Mitchell in practice, right? Not a hit against Will Graves in the slightest. It's just the way that it is. And so when you come out into a game, you can watch as much film as you want. You can do every sort of prep work that you can, but you don't really know what it feels like until it happens, until you actually go one-on-one with Davion Mitchell. And that, I think, is the hardest part for everything involved, everyone involved. And it was just a very frustrating game. I thought GU would be more apt to handle it, but I think you really saw the lack of quickness in like a player like Joel Ayayi. Corey Kispert.
They couldn't create any separation. Nobody could create separation. It didn't matter.
He was the only one who looked like he could play with these guys.
Right, and of course he had a stupid, silly second foul on the reach-in, with whatever, like 16 and some change. Right. Still left to go in the first half, and I don't think that made like a huge difference in the game, just because, especially at that point in the first half,
it was already like
Gonzaga was so
well,
and they were so stifled. They hadn't gotten into any sort of rhythm that they ended up getting into more so to close out the first half. Okay, can we talk about so obviously the Gonzaga's calling card this season was not their defense. Obviously, it was their offense, it was their movement, it was their cutting, it was
their
just
record-breaking offense.
Yes, sorry, how could I leave that out? But their defense was absolutely exposed. In particular, Timmy
on the ball screens. Timmy was having issues with staying in front of guys. And I also feel like what was happening on these switches, because it looked like in the second half they tried to change that. It looked like they were trying to keep the ball, the defender, the on-ball defender, to stay on the ball on these screens. And yet, both with Watson and with Timmy, they were having these issues of the communication where it was almost like both guys were kind of on ball, and then all of a sudden the previous on-ball defender kind of just filters out, and then they like switch back, and then when they are doing that switch, then it opened up either down low, or then it opened up another one of these guards who was coming over to help, and now there's a guy open for three. And so I don't know whose fault it was. It has to be the big in that situation, I feel like, just because they need to do a better job at rotating out of that, at flashing and then falling back. And it just wasn't happening.
It was just kind of amazing to see for the first time all year how much of a liability he was. Obviously, he wasn't getting a lot of touches in the post or down on the block. Right. He wasn't able to really get his game going. And so because of that, the fact that he's, jotting back on defense every time and being put in these situations where he is just completely at a loss for anything. Right. I mean, the lack of athleticism, he's an incredible player. The things that he can do offensively and facing up and finishing around the rim with both hands and everything, it's impressive, and we all understand that about him. However, it was just like he looked absolutely lost out there, and it was kind of depressing because it was just like it looked like he was playing in a league
that he wasn't prepared for.
And felt bad for him. It wasn't great for his draft stock.
No,
I'm not sure that there was a ton of draft stock to begin with. To be honest, but
he's going to come back, I think, because there's two things he needs to work on: his quickness, his lateral quickness specifically, and just a mid-range shot.
Like how much can you how much can you work on your lateral quickness? Isn't that kind of an innate? You think so?
It is. Obviously, you either have it or you don't, but you can increase the your
own limitations.
Ability, become a little bit more twitchy. I think for him, he'll find a spot in the league because you look at a guy like Sabonis, for instance. He's a great comp, I think, to Drew Timme. Not right now. Not comparing Drew Timme to where Sabonis is right now. But you look at Domantas Sabonis, his freshman year to Timme's sophomore year. Sabonis looked a little out of place, but he had the elite footwork. He had the elite passing, and they both are borderline cocky. And they both just have that little bit of like.
Oh, okay, the other thing, I mean, we kind of griped on about this. Yeah. The mustache down 14 or 15 points. Like, dude, just like read a room, know your place.
He got roasted a little bit for that.
Well, different deserve at least. So that was a really bad look. I don't understand why you would do that.
It was so. In the moment, I was okay with it because I thought that might get him going. I thought that little bit of swag might help him. It didn't. So if you're gonna do a celebration like that, you gotta win. Because if he wins, nobody cares. Nobody cares that he did that because he won and he had a good game or whatever. But if you do that celebration, you lose and you don't have a very good game to top that off. Here you are.
Well, and that's what happened. So therefore, here we are criticizing it.
Right. So if there was anything I could do to just obliviate this game from my memory, that would be very much preferred because it did not look like GU basketball at all. We also have a guy on Twitch, Blindside1234, who says, "Hi, what's up, man?" I think that's our Facebook buddy.
Yes, it is.
From what we can
over
tell.
In Europe.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Quickly.
Yes.
I think the answer is obvious, but is 2017 or this more disappointing?
Was I asked this? For me personally, 2017 was more heartbreaking, but this season's more disappointing.
Okay.
So 2017, because I was actually there and I was like interacting with these players on a consistent basis and interviewing them. Like, I mean, I saw these guys, because I covered them throughout the entire season, the entire tournament, and going into that locker room after that game, and they're all crying, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm also a student here, like I'm sad too. But I also
the fact that the game came down to the last couple of possessions. Right, I mean, they were in it.
Yeah, I mean, and then Goss was crying on the court, like before the game was even done. I mean, it was a pretty brutal game. This season is more disappointing than anything because it was from. After the first 5 games, it was like championship or bust. Like this team has it. Like they have this factor. And people were looking at Baylor saying like, well, maybe Baylor was the better team all year, and it's like they weren't though. Like Baylor had games, and they're like, well, they had a COVID pause. GU had a COVID pause too. Like GU didn't play a game for 13 days or whatever, and they came out and stomped Iowa. And the Player of the Year in Luka Garza. So GU had a better. Now everyone's going to look at the champion, and they're going to say, well, that's a wrong take. GU was the better team all year. GU had the more dominant performances. GU was a better brand of basketball to watch. GU went up against teams of good quality and still looked better than them for a full 40 minutes. I mean, Baylor had problems with Iowa State when they came back after a COVID pause. Iowa State was like 1-18 at the time. Like that's what I mean is like GU never had any lapses in their performance the entire season outside of one half against Baylor or against BYU. And the game against UCLA was just incredible. Yeah. I mean, it took some incredible personal performances from GU players to really, come back and actually get a win out of that. So I did want to just quickly look at a couple clips from the UCLA game because I think they should be shown again because they were. It's
the only thing that we have at this point.
It's the only thing we have. I'm not going to show any Baylor highlights because I don't want to go over. I mean, there weren't many GU highlights in that Baylor game. Even my Twitter feed, which usually shows GU highlights, only had like 2 from the game. A lot of it was just tweets complaining about the performance. But we'll look at this first one here. This was Kispert's dunk. And at the time, this was the biggest play of the game because it really, you just felt like the tides were turning a little bit. It ended up not being quite like that, but it was probably one of the more impressive plays. At this point, GU's up by just one. He kind of rolls off the wing. He takes off from a decent point here. Yeah. Over UCLA. He literally took a he strapped on his moon shoes and just went up for it. And you don't see Kispert doing that very often. He doesn't dunk all that often anyway. He's an athlete, obviously. I mean, if you can't jump, you're not going to do anything there. So that was pretty cool. That got me really pumped up. It obviously got the team pumped up. Kept them in that, they were in that kind of lull where it felt like UCLA was going to be able to do something again. The game ended up going to overtime, but not before the second largest play of the game. That Kispert play is moved down the list really fast because here, this next video of Suggs was really impressive. It just kind of shows his want, his defense.
Nice pass.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's actually the most impressive thing about it. Is that the recovery. And so he comes off the screen. He's just kind of standing there. Passes over to Riley. He makes this incredible recovery. He goes up and it's replay. It's a borderline foul.
It is, yeah.
People were like, that's a foul. I saw people about the game block.
Nice
he hits him back. Is it 100% clean? No.
But the UCLA player, as we watched it there a couple times, he didn't put his arms up.
No,
he wasn't complaining about it. I think he was just more shocked that what happened actually happened to him.
And I don't think anybody ever talked about it either. Like there were never. I
heard a little bit.
Right.
I saw a little bit, but it wasn't completely devoid of any sort of controversy.
Once they saw the replay, they were like, well, that doesn't look quite clean. The other, arguably almost better aspect of that play too was his pass. Like that is
100%.
That pass is mind-boggling. Like you shouldn't be able to make that pass. I mean, he's running on the right side of the court, and he's able to lift this pass from behind midcourt, and that pass gets almost to the elbow. It's past two defenders, one in Tiger Campbell, who's the fastest guy in the court, and shortest, smallest, I guess, but still, like that pass, even Suggs in his post-game press conference was talking about that, and he's like, I know Coach Few wouldn't have liked me making that pass, but like I had to do something. Mm-hmm. And Few even said the same thing. He's like, when he was loading up to make that pass, I was like, please don't. And because you're not supposed to be able to do that. Like those passes just are not supposed to be able to be possible. Mm-hmm. So that was awesome. And then of course the play of the year, as far as clutchness, buzzer beating, game winners, probably, arguably the best buzzer-beating shot in Final Four history, happened a few minutes later in overtime. Zags and UCLA were tied. Johnny Juzang got a putback lay-in after Corey Kispert fell asleep on the defensive rebounding side.
To the right side of the floor, defended by Kispert now. Drives, leans in, the runner comes up short. Juzang though rebounds and puts it in. We're tied at 90. 3 seconds left. Here's Suggs the other way. Pull up three for the win. Yes! Yes! Drives, leans in, the runner comes up short. Juzang though rebounds and puts it in. We're tied at 90. 3 seconds left.
Pull up at half court. He could get another couple steps and get a little bit
the other way,
closer.
pull up three for the win. Yes! Yes! No rebounds and puts it in. We're tied at 90. 3 seconds
he was confident in that.
This frame by frame here, like you can he sets his feet too. Like people are like, that was a runner. I was like, that's not a runner. He literally stops himself. It looks like a runner because of his momentum, but like he squares himself up. He squares up to the basket, and I mean, I saw some of the photos.
Three for the win! Yes! Yes!
Yes! Possible situation because, well, I was going to say it almost looks like he gives him a little too much space, but the worst thing that you could possibly do in that situation is foul him. That is that is the last thing that you can do.
All you need to do is just make him second guess, so you get close and put your hand up and like let him take it, because the chances of that going in, I don't know what the odds are
great.
Very, very low, especially in a situation like that. So yeah, that shot was absolutely wild and insane. The call there too that you heard from Morrison and Tom Hudson was awesome. I talked about how it just felt like, because GU's already beat UCLA in the NCAA tournament since 2006, but this game just felt like it was Spokane's turn to start haunting UCLA, because that UCLA game still to that moment still felt like it was in the foreground. Like you just felt, especially during the entire game, you're like, they're going to do it again. These Southern California douchebags are going to do it again.
Nice.
And it didn't quite happen, thankfully, and Suggs walked it off. And I mean, what a game! I mean, and everybody talked about how good of a game that was, except for Skip Bayless.
Instant classic.
Skip Bayless, who came out.
Well, it was a lucky shot.
Yeah, of course, it's a lucky shot. I made a tweet. I said, new announcement, all buzzer beaters are now considered luck and should forever be known as just another shot. Because it's true. I mean, he literally said, no idea how you can call that an all-time great college basketball game when it was won by a lucky shot. And he got absolutely toasted, rightfully so, for a horrible – I actually was feeling decent about Skip over the last couple months. I was like, he hasn't said anything too stupid, and he comes out with that garbage. And he instantly moves back to the top of my list with Stephen A. Smith.
There you go. Well, all right.
So, yeah, I mean, there were just so many things that happened that night. I watched the replay of that shot I don't know how many times. We went to the piano bar and got them to do Zombie Nation, which was really sick.
Very cool.
It was an awesome night for Spokane. it really felt like GU was going to be able to just follow right through.
Oh, see, okay, so honest question for you.
Yes.
So that's how you felt about it, because I did have pause for concern given the emotional expenditure, the physical expenditure, and having to turn around and coming off. It's kind of like, it's kind of like Seattle in the 2014 NFC title game, coming back against the Packers, walking off in overtime. And then even in the Super Bowl, getting down with the second crazy like curse catch, getting down to the 5-yard line, and it's like, oh my God, this is it,
Right?
Destiny, and then no, Destiny had other plans.
It had all sorts of other plans.
So you didn't have any second guessing about? Okay.
Not this time. I felt this team was so uber motivated with a strong desire to win that they honestly felt invincible. And that may have been some of the problem. There were some reports. I just want to also talk about this because I think this is a BS report. There were some reports yesterday that GU players bought cases of champagne before the game to get ready to celebrate after the game. I would love to hear Mark Few's reaction to that story, because if Mark Few does not come off as a guy who would be like, let's get them. Let's get these cases rolling in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that just seems like a story that Scott Drew, and it's an awesome story for him to motivate his team with. That just sounds like a Scott Drew motivated story to add another chip to Baylor's shoulder, in my opinion. Isn't that a weird story?
Yeah, that is.
Considering, too, that most of the guys on that team aren't 21.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds and seems unlikely.
Right, that's what I thought, too. So I thought that was really interesting. The other thing that was also pretty frustrating is, Vito was up on the stage after the game, and, they were celebrating and everything, and, like, he talked about how, GU should have been considered the better team, and, like, they all thought that they were better than us, and, like, he kind of throws shade at GU, and it's like,
no, he did. That was the thing that pissed me off. I kind of respected Scott Drew at least going out of his way to, spend a few sentences, if not a paragraph, like addressing GU and Mark Few and the team and everything. But then, once his 24-year-old ass got up in there, I was like, dude.
Yeah, I know. It was really frustrating because, throughout this entire year, and I don't want to say GU's more praise, they praise teams more than others, but, like, throughout this entire year, I mean, they literally spent a ton of time talking about UCLA and, like, how incredibly impressive that team has been this year. I mean, Mark Few even goes out of his way. Usually someone talks about, like, how, they'll be like, well, how did GU come through? And it's like, well, let's not forget UCLA put us in this position. Like, UCLA is the reason why we had to, dig deep and get out of this hole. And so, it was a little unfortunate to see. It is what it is. I can't really complain about, the season. It's more of, I think the biggest problem I have with the entire thing is now it just gives people outside of Spokane
more fuel, ammunition to perpetuate.
This notion that GU isn't a blue blood team. And if you want to say that GU hasn't done it for long enough to be considered a blue blood, that's fine. I mean, they've made the tournament 21 straight years, which is crazy to think about. They've been to 5 straight Sweet 16s. They've been to 2 national championships in the last 4 years, 3 seasons, 17, 18, 4 seasons. They've been to more Elite Eights than any team in this 5-year stretch. I mean, they're doing things that other teams just aren't doing, and that includes North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas. 2 of those teams which didn't even make the tournament, and North Carolina, which got clobbered, and then a Kansas team that got destroyed by Eastern. And so USC,
basically the same
thing. It's very frustrating. I think that's the biggest thing, is because then, luckily, it seems like the media's coming around to it. It seems like the media, by and large, sees GU as a powerhouse.
Yeah, and most people were predicting and taking GU in that game as well. And so, to your point, everybody was kind of, especially with this season, and Jay Billis, I feel like, is the catalyst, especially like on the ESPN front, for advocating for Gonzaga and the legitimacy of the program and everything. Basically, the last thing that I have to say is, like, I feel like there is some solace to be taken in the fact that nobody in America or in the world at a collegiate level was going to step onto that court Monday night and beat that Baylor team that showed up and played the way that they played. Right. And I think that's just a fact of the matter.
Yeah, again, like I said, Baylor took that game. GU didn't lose it.
Yeah.
GU didn't look great, but Baylor, the reason why they didn't look great is because Baylor looked so good.
Yep.
The other thing I do want to point out, this was GU's 5th straight 30-win season. No other team has ever done that in the history of the NCAA. So there's that. That's because they play in the WCC. Okay. That was also, before the game, did you see Bob Huggins? interview at all? So Bob Huggins was like, well, if he played in the Big Ten, or if GU played in the Big Ten, they'd have lost this year. It's like, Bob, dude, like, I don't know if that's true. GU beat every single power conference team that they played all season. So, I mean, I didn't really get that. They beat BYU 3 times, and BYU was a borderline top 25 the entire season. So that was interesting. A couple other fun facts. Drew Timme is the 3rd player in the last 25 years to score 20-plus points, shoot 50% or better from the field in 4 straight games. Zion and Blake Griffin are the only 2 players to do that. Jalen Suggs was the 5th freshman of all time to have at least 65 points, 25 rebounds, and 25 assists in an NCAA tournament. Good for him. I do want to talk about some recruiting stuff. Let's look at next year.
Yeah.
For a couple minutes here. They're going to be very good. I think I think their ceiling could be higher as far as winning it. I think they have a better shot of winning it because I think they're going to be more well-rounded. Their offense might not be historically dominant, but their defense will be better. And that's because most likely they're going to get Chet Holmgren, who's probably will be GU's best shot blocker, even over Brandon Clark, because Chet's athletic and he's longer and taller than Brandon Clark was. So that's not confirmed, I guess, but he's coming to GU. He's going to come to GU. You heard it here first and everywhere else first. They did get Hunter Salas, 6th-ranked player in the entire country, higher-ranked prospect than Jalen Suggs was coming out of high school. Chet would be the first, most highest, because he will be first in the country, if that made sense. They also have a guy from Washington, Caden Perry, 53rd player in the country, 6'8". And those are going to be the 3 guys coming in. That includes guys who will be staying. I think Timmy's staying. I think he has to stay if he wants to boost his draft stock and become a more well-rounded player. The one that I think is the largest question mark for me is Joel Ayayi. So I said on the podcast last night that I was on that I don't think he's leaving. I think I would be leaning toward no. I just saw a new mock draft today that had Ayayi going at like 21st in the first round, which I was kind of surprised to see. For this exercise, let's say he doesn't return.
Okay.
Let's just see what happens.
Okay.
So your starters are going to be Chet at 5, Timmy at 4. Now you're looking at Dominic Harris, also a stud freshman who didn't play much. You're looking at Anton Watson, who, by the way, I was looking at the 2022 mock draft. They had him as a first-round draft pick.
How, dude?
I guess they see something.
Dude, I don't know. When he's out there, like his composure and his body language, I'm just like, how did you end up in this point?
It's a little lackadaisical.
It's 100% lackadaisical. Right. He always looks like he just woke up from a nap and he's like, holy shit, I'm on a basketball court now. And you're like, yeah. I don't know. He was also awful defensively. He was just getting caught in those pick and rolls and just drifting away from the basket. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So it could be him or Julian Strother, 6'7". He will be a sophomore at the time. And then Andrew Nembhard, who's probably going to stay, and then Hunter Salas at the 1-2, however you want to put him. That's a pretty good lineup again. That's arguably a better lineup. Salas can't – he's like Suggs. He can shoot, but he can't shoot. Nembhard, we saw what he can do this year. We're looking more down the list. Strother had an awesome time from 3, it seemed like, this year. Dominic Harris can also shoot. Chet Holmgren might be their best three-point shooter, though. I mean, he's that good from everywhere. So that'll be something to watch. This team's gonna be very good because then on the bench, part of that rotation, you still have Ben Gregg, who may redshirt. Dominic Harris may or may not start. Whatever transfers they may get, you have Arlauskas and Zakharov. If they decide to stay, they may transfer. Cook's probably gone. He technically could stay with all the rules that are allowing players to stay based off their eligibility. But I expect the team next year to be a better defense. They're going to be long. They're going to be very long, very lanky. Chet Holmgren, 7 foot with like a 7-something wingspan. You have Hunter Salas. He's 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan.
Whoa.
Strother, who's 6'7", and I think he also has close to a 6'10" wingspan. They're going to be long. They're going to be lanky. They're going to be more athletic. I think they're going to be more similar to the 2019 Bulldogs, who were just athletically superior to everyone that they played. So that'll be fun to see. We'll see what happens. On the recruiting front, we're still waiting to see, like we mentioned, where Chet Holmgren goes. Everybody's saying he's going to GU because he's not going to the G League. He's not going overseas like he has said. So that's college, and that means GU. Jalen Suggs, I think, also had way too much fun. And also,
I was going to say Jalen Suggs is probably the best, the microcosm of what it is to go and be a part of the GU program.
Jalen Suggs may have forever altered the course of GU basketball.
Yeah.
And GU was already on this upward trajectory. But I think he has shown that you can be a top 5, top 10 prospect go to GU and succeed. And I mean, he boosted his. He's now showing up as the top pick in some of the NBA drafts. I don't think he's going to go 1. I think he's 2 or 3. It's either going to be him or Mobley, I think, going 2 or 3. We'll talk more NBA draft when that time gets closer. But he boosted his draft stock, immensely. So that'll be really nice to see. The last thing I do want to talk about GU was some rumors that came out yesterday regarding Tommy Lloyd. So Arizona fired Sean Miller yesterday after a long time in Arizona. This March, I think there were 5 NCAA Division I violations that the FBI and NCAA found in regards to what they were doing. So that's not good on Arizona's part. But the bigger news is that the first name that popped up in a lot of discussion was GU's own Tommy Lloyd. Now, his name comes up all the time. Everybody always looks at Tommy Lloyd being, having a chance to go and coach anywhere that he wants, and rightfully so. I just don't know if I buy it. Thoughts? Do you think? Would you take the Arizona job?
No. I mean, I wouldn't if I were in the position that he currently finds himself. I don't understand why you would. I don't know him personally or, what sort of values or aspirations he has for his own personal career, so it's kind of hard to speculate. But I don't know. Being the successor to Mark Few is also probably a pretty daunting task.
Right. It definitely is.
But the fact that he's been in the fold and been in the wings waiting – essentially,
right.
I don't know, to give that up after kind of already solidifying that position whenever it does come.
Right.
And maybe that's the only thing that makes him consider is like, okay, well, what if I don't know how long Mark's actually going to stick around and continue to coach?
And my colleague at the Spokesman, Ryan Collingwood, brought up a good point that maybe Lloyd and Few have had conversations regarding how long Few wants to coach. Now, I could see a situation where Lloyd goes somewhere for 10 years, whatever. Few retires, they bring Lloyd back in that situation. Go get some experience, go see what happens. Mike Roth was interviewed yesterday by Jim Meehan, also the Spokesman, and he talked about that just this year alone, there have been 3 jobs prior to Arizona, so now 4 that his name has been part of, or they seriously reached out and tried to connect with him. That's probably been the case the last 5 or 6 years on average. These are Division I jobs and jobs in multi-bid leagues. We're committed to Tommy here, and he knows that. We've made that public. If GU is committed to Tommy, where our program is and where it's been built, and Tommy has been such an important part of this, why wouldn't any other school have him on their list, even high on their list? He also said, we'll continue to do our best to let Tommy know this is where we want him to be a head coach someday, and when the time comes and we want him between now and then to help us be one of, if not the best basketball teams in the country. I think Arizona can take this rumor and shove it up their keister. I don't think it's going to happen.
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah,
that was pretty good. I don't see it happening, especially at Arizona. That team is so – they have no NCAA tournament aspirations. They have no recruiting pipeline because of all these violations that are still being handed down to that program. That's why I was kind of surprised that they moved on from Sean Miller at this time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that kind of wraps up our GU discussion
I hope so.
Of the year. We'll have some more recruiting stuff happen when Chet finally announces he's coming to GU.
It was fun. It was an incredible year. Hats off, boys.
They did a lot of things. I mean, they were the most efficient team from 2-point range in the history of college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
They finished atop Ken Palm's efficiency rankings again for the I think it's the they didn't in 2019 for the second time in 4 years. Another national championship appearance. They're going to get over that hump. They're going to do it. It's just a matter of time. They were fun.
They were a lot of fun.
They were a lot of fun. All right. We have a couple NBA topics.
Jesus, I don't know. I forgot that there were other sports to be discussed. Yeah. What do you want to know?
How are your Boston Celtics doing?
We're back in 7th place, back to 500 after beating the New York Knickerbockers last night in a less than convincing win. They came down to the stretch. Yep. They're still bad. But the East is such a dumpster fire and a joke of a conference that they find themselves at 7, and they are only 1 game out of the 4 seed. So the East continues to be the East. The Jazz and the Phoenix Suns, the 2 best records in the NBA, played last night in a primetime game on ESPN, ended up going to overtime, and the Suns were able to outlast the Utah Jazz. And now, within the last month of the season, the Phoenix Suns they have the best record in the NBA. So they are getting hot, as their mascot may suggest. The Denver Nuggets are also surging. They're still they're a half game back of the Clippers for the 3rd spot, but the acquisition of Aaron Gordon has been huge for them, and he has been able to plug in, play. He's a great off-ball cutter, which is great when Jokic is double-teamed and when Jokic has the ball somewhere in the key and has to make the decision whether, the defender backs off, okay, I'm going to take it to the defender, or if they bring the double, then he's looking for a better shot somewhere. And Gordon has just been he's been integral, and he's worked out probably better than anybody could have foreseen.
It was a great fit. He fit in that puzzle of what they're trying to do down there. The more I watch Jokic, the more I just can't believe that he's that good. Like, he just looks he looks old, and he's not. He looks clunky, and he's not. He doesn't look that skillful, but he is. Like,
he looks like really Anton weird. Watson out there.
That's what NBA scouts are saying out of Watson.
I'm sure that's what that is. Yeah, I can see the draft comps now. Yep. So Denver, especially, basically again in the West, the whole thing is okay. So the Jazz and the Suns. The Clippers, nobody really cares what they do in the regular season just because of their woes in the postseason. So nobody really cares, kind of like Milwaukee in the East. It all really just comes down to what they do in the postseason. But the Lakers continue to drop. They're in the 5 seed right now. They're lucky that the Blazers haven't really capitalized on them missing AD and LeBron. And Portland's kind of fuddling around there, just 10 games above 500. But basically, the whole storyline is, okay, so if the Lakers do get AD and LeBron back at some point in the season, how far down the standings are they going to be, and how much time are they going to have to re-ingratiate themselves into the flow of that team and that offense and before the playoffs come? And when the playoffs do come, who are they playing in the first round? Are they playing the Clippers? That would probably be actually a good thing for them just because of the history there and the stakes that would be on the table for the Clippers. Or do they end up, falling to the 7? Do they have to play the Suns? Do they have to play in a play-in game?
Right.
It's all dangerous, and I mean, if anybody's going to get the benefit of the doubt, it's going to be LeBron James and Anthony Davis in that Lakers squad. However, it is still a very relevant topic of conversation because this could be far more difficult for them than we ever would have projected at the beginning of the season when it was just assumed that they were going to run it back.
Right.
Especially with the additions that they made to bolster their bench, which have now kind of faltered and
become their starters.
Yeah.
which is
and everyone's like, don't worry, Kyle Kuzma is going to step up, and it's like Kyle Kuzma, like 6 for 21 from the field, and
big Kyle Kuzma guy.
Yeah, he's a funky looking dude.
He's
Yeah, so those are kind of the big things. Brooklyn's still unstoppable. KD finally came back after missing 2 months, came off the bench. He went 100% from the field. I think he had like 17 points, and he's just a perfect plug-in regardless of what's going on.
He didn't need any time to get acclimated to what the Nets are doing.
No, he did not at all. So Brooklyn still looking like the prohibitive favorite coming out of the East. 76ers are still up there, half game back of the 1 seed behind those Brooklyn Nets. Still a really good defensive team, and Embiid's back. Ben Simmons has now gone cold, however, and something looks off with him. Wouldn't be surprised if his back and or his knee is causing him some troubles again, as it has in the past, even earlier this season. Milwaukee's still there. Those are going to be the cemented top 3 seeds in the East. And yeah, that's kind of the bulk of what's going on right now. Again, this is the dog days of the NBA season, or at least this calendar year for the COVID-adjusted season. So things aren't really going to start heating up until, I don't know, May, in the last couple of weeks of the season, and like the race for the seedings and everything. So, yeah, not a ton going on of note, but yeah, I would say that you are pretty well caught up, and you are welcome.
Yeah, the NBA, like you said, is really going through this interesting period where a lot of these guys are. I mean, you have a lot of stars who aren't playing. You know, you had KD who wasn't playing for a while. You had Harden who wasn't playing for a while. Kyrie obviously taking birthday breaks, and then obviously LeBron and Anthony Davis, and throughout the entire league, you were just seeing a lot of interesting results. Like the Nets came out and it was a close game, like through almost 3 quarters, and they won by like 30. Like they put up 134 points or something stupid, 130 last night. By the way, ESPN can still suck one. I'm trying to watch. What'd you say? The Jazz and the
Suns.
The Suns.
Mm-hmm.
I see it on my ESPN app. I'm on the Roku this time. It's not even on my phone. It was on the Roku. I see this as a good game. There's nothing else on TV. It's like 9 o'clock, 8:45. I was like, I want to watch this game. So I click on it, and they have this stupid, like, I don't know if it's a technical difficulties page, but it's like a replaying 5-second sound. like a little bit of a jingle type thing,
Yep.
and then it restarts, and it just keeps going over and over and over again. I was like, oh, maybe the app just is, whatever. I backed all the way out, turned the TV off and back on, tried to go back, and it still wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, I'm watching SportsCenter, which is fine, because at least it was who was on it? Steve Levy and Anderson, John Anderson. Anyway, on SportsCenter, and it was really frustrating because I was getting all these awesome highlights on my phone, like, oh my god, like going to overtime, and then I'm like, sweet. I try to watch it again, still isn't working. I'm trying to watch the NBA, and the world just doesn't want me to.
Their app overhaul has also probably been assigned to Mike Greenberg, so I don't think that's exactly his realm of expertise, but given the way and the state of things at ESPN, I'm sure he's the one behind the scenes trying to make those adjustments. So that would explain a lot.
That would explain so much, yeah. We'll keep an eye on the NBA, see what happens moving forward.
Sure will.
I'll try to watch more. Mick Whippy is wondering if we're going to go over the second sponsor.
Oh, all right. What a segue. He teed you up.
He teed me up perfectly.
All right, Mick Whippy, shout out.
What's awesome about that is, Lake City Hauling is the company to go for. Let's take a look at their website here. What a beautiful looking website. Because if you are looking to work on a remodeling or a cleanup project, let Lake City Hauling do the job for you. Save yourself a stressful trip to the dump by letting them haul all of these small and large items for you. They will remove it all. They will take your unwanted trash, branches, yard waste, furniture, appliances, and shove it into their dump trailer and take it straight to the dump for you. They offer same-day pickup, and check out their 5-star rating on Google and see why customers keep coming back to Lake City Hauling. I saw a video actually on their Facebook page, and they trashed and demoed 2 mobile homes and completely took it down to the steel frame, and everything was actually pretty cool.
Going off script there.
Yeah,
nice.
Going a little off script. They offer junk removal, dumpster rentals, and demolition in the Kootenai County area. If you're outside of that area, like this mobile home demolition was, do not fret. They are more than happy to work with you. So give them a call at 208-425-4130 and ask for more detail and more information. Keep them in mind for your next project. And again, their number is 208-425-4130, and check out their awesome website that you just saw at lakecityhauling.com.
Nice.
Boom. Thanks for the segue, Mick Whippy. Much appreciated.
Yes, sir.
They are still 5 stars. Don't you worry. He said beauty lies in the eye of the beer holder, as in the beverage.
I think that's you, right? Aren't you the beer guy?
Yeah, I'm the beer guy. You're the
I'm
tech
the
guy.
tech guy. All right.
By the way, try not to run into a tree going 75 miles an hour. You will have a bad time. I bet Lake City Hauling would have been down there to help haul that car away, haul all the trees and branches that Tiger Woods absolutely got smeared in as he went through.
So, was he late?
I have no idea. I don't think how late
he was going nearly double the speed limit, right? Which is impressive.
Do you know Argonne Hill?
Yeah.
So for people who are from Spokane, or at least are familiar with Spokane, going down Argonne Hill is a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. It drops down to 35 when you get closer to residential. That would be like going 90 miles an hour down that hill. Yeah, his car was going 84 to 87 miles an hour when it went airborne and proceeded to smash into the tree going 75 miles an hour. The fact that he survived is actually insane.
It is.
He shouldn't be here today. I think his car, you just saw a nice photo. Can we get that photo of the car back up there? Everything's missing from it, essentially. I mean, the thing is looks like it was just put through 5 demolition derbies. I think his car could really utilize a good reparo right now. It'd be very, very important to get that car fixed. Be a lot cheaper than having to total it. So yeah, he's still thankful for all of the the well wishes and everything that's going on. The sheriff's office did come out yesterday saying there were no signs of impairment, like they said from the beginning, which seems really odd. Why are you going 90 there?
Got a need for speed, dog.
Like Paul Walker, Ryan Dunn.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of big guys who have died doing this. And it's these. What's crazy too is he's not even driving that cool of a car.
Well, it wasn't his car. It was
sponsored by whoever it was. Yeah. So I don't know about that. So yeah, he's lucky to be alive. Tiger Woods still recovering with 2 broken legs. We're gonna mention some Master stuff here at the end of the show, but he would be playing in those Masters, but he's not. So there's that.
Nice.
Russell Wilson still with the Seahawks. That's nice. He appears to be happier.
Yeah.
Carlos
That's
Dunlap,
what his teammates say anyway.
Right, everybody outside of Russell Wilson and the team is saying that he's happy, so that's actually probably better than anything.
Sounds like they've been in group texts
and
things of that nature.
Had some group
that's a nod of affirmation.
Yeah, that is really nice. Former quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, Warren Moon, and former radio analysis, Warren Moon, came out and did say that he thinks that the relationship between Seattle and Russell Wilson is destined to not go very well. As far as how Marshawn left, how Richard Sherman left, that it's just kind of some squabbles that are going to turn into larger fights. I don't think I believe that, quite how he's saying it. I think his reconnaissance is off. Thoughts? Do you think it would ever get to a point where it's – because I was shocked when all the reports came out this offseason of how unhappy he was.
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising. Pete's beefed with people. Obviously, there's some sort of power imbalance there that Pete has is on the high end of.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't sit well, obviously, with the defensive players, but that was a whole nother set of problems, issues, and debates within the locker room back, 3-4 years ago. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. No, I actually don't think his projection is too far off. I hope that's not the case. I hope that things that can be repaired and go back to normal before any of this started hitting the headlines. But I see where he's coming from, and there is a repetition of pattern. I mean, some of the only people that, just gracefully left were Baldwin, he retired, Chancellor and Averill retired.
Forced retirements, all of them, essentially.
Yeah. Michael Bennett had beef and issues, but
Earl
he's got
Thomas,
beef and issues with everybody.
Sherman.
Okay, also, Earl Thomas, that was – you think he ever considered that maybe he was in the
part
wrong
of the problem a little bit?
Any of the situations he
now
found
it
himself
does
in?
appear to be that way a little bit more, because Marshawn hasn't gotten in trouble. Sherman hasn't gotten in trouble. Bennett, I think, is part of the problem, too, a little bit. Because he actually did get in trouble in Vegas there when didn't he
cried wolf on his
police brutality
against his brother, and
and it ended up like a video came out, and you're like, you're lying.
Like straight up.
But
you keep writing those children's books, or maybe that's Martellus.
One of them, one of the Bennetts. I think I don't see a situation where Russell Wilson, because he was close to being the bad. Like I would have been on the Seahawks side in the middle of this squabble. I think Russell Wilson came out sounding more like babied, and like he was like whining and not getting his way.
Well, did you hear like the part where he was offended that the scouts or Schneider or somebody was at Josh Allen's pro day back in like 2017 or whenever that was, and it's like, you understand that is part of their job, and that ultimately has no, especially with who you are within the organization and what you are for the city.
Right.
That doesn't matter. That's just doing their due diligence. That's part of their occupation, and it's just like, dude, oh my God.
So
I'm telling you, it's his wife.
He went to the University of Wyoming. Yeah, I think Sierra's a little.
She's
crazy.
An influence. It's
not crazy. That's not fair. I shouldn't say that.
No, she's not crazy. She's just living in the L.A., New York mentality, and now is dragging.
Well, she's a pop star. I mean, they literally that's exactly what they thrive on. So, also Josh Allen went to the University of Wyoming, and so there's other players out of the University of Wyoming that could have been interesting prospects. Like, they were at
Jacob Hollister.
They went at, exactly. Exactly. Like that's a great example because
they ended up trading for him
because they probably saw him at the pro day. So it's really interesting when people are like, oh, they went to his pro day. It's like, well, he went to that school's pro day. That player happened to be there. Right. But why?
If you're in your feelings about that, I don't know. I think that speaks more volumes about your own insecurity or things that are going on your personal end than it does, I don't know, something that the team is doing wrong and to slight you.
I agree. I think things will be okay. They made some good moves. They have some other offensive linemen coming in for tryouts. Signed Gerald Everett, they re-signed Tyler Lockett. They are in the market for a third wide receiver who may or may not be named Antonio Brown.
We'll see.
Would you be okay with that as a third wide receiver?
I'd be fine.
He stayed out of trouble last year.
Yeah, he did.
And he had a solid – he caught like 500 yards worth of passes.
And to be honest, with all of the offseason chaos and all of the Russell Wilson rumors anyway, to be on – and this may be different when the season actually does come, but I'm kind of numb to any sensitivity toward drama and locker room chaos. So
that's a good take. I like it.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Antonio Brown,
it'd be too different.
If they can get him at a price that works for the Seattle Seahawks and it keeps Russell Wilson happy, I'm fine with that because it's a guy who I would be happy with to be on this team. He's a 32-year-old former, probably the best wide receiver in the league for a few years.
Move the sticks, man.
I would say. So, I will see what happens there. The other big thing that happened is Sam Darnold was traded finally from the New York Jets.
Good for Sam.
Good for
Sam.
He heads to the Carolina Panthers in a decent, actually, draft stock trade.
Second round, fourth round, and a sixth.
The Jets received a sixth rounder in the 2021 draft, and then in 2022 they get a second round and a fourth round.
Yep.
That's not bad for a team who obviously had no interest in Sam Darnold, obviously.
Yeah, Zach Wilson seems to be the move that they're going to make.
And then we'll definitely talk more. NFL draft happens here beginning of May, I want to say, right? I think it's
end of April, I think.
It is it's April 29th to May 2nd, I think is what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's right. That'll be at the end of the month. We'll talk more there. But this is a win for Sam Darnold. It is a win for the Carolina Panthers.
And I think it's a win for the Jets, too.
I think it's a win for the Jets. It's a loss, I think, for
Teddy.
For Teddy, as well as I think the playmakers in Carolina, not named Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey's going to get his, but is Robbie Anderson? Robbie Anderson's probably like, God, I just got away from Sam Darnold. I signed with you guys, so I didn't have to play with Sam Darnold, and now you bring him here?
I don't know, man. I don't know how much stock you can put into Darnold's resume in his time with New York, because it was under the helm of Adam Gase, and we've seen players leave Gase, a la Ryan Tannehill, and have career years. So I don't know. In my opinion, I think he genuinely gets like a fresh slate, and he's working with Joe Brady and Matt Rule in his first year as a head coach, proved to be more than competent. And obviously, with the pieces that they were working with there at Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, and obviously Christian McCaffrey out for a large chunk of the year, they were able to put together a competent offense, and they were competitive. And so I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see. I don't know what they're going to do with Bridgewater, if they're going to keep him, if they're going to try to trade him. I don't know how much value.
They were looking at maybe moving him somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many teams
it's a little late in the year
need a quarterback of his caliber, but I don't know. We'll see. Overall, I like it.
So the Jets will become the first team in the common draft era since 1967 to select 2 quarterbacks within the top 3 picks in a 4-year span.
Right.
But I think this is a trade that they are more than happy to do.
Well, this is in turn going to affect the draft now as well, because the Panthers were looking to trade up, looking to snag one of these 2021 quarterbacks from the draft, and now it seems as if, for the meantime, they have their guy, or they have a guy going forward that they want to give in serious consideration to. So. It'll be interesting to see the ramifications that it has as it pertains to the draft.
Yes, I agree.
Sick.
All right. Sport fact of the day. You interested?
Ooh, I got one.
Oh, you got one for me?
Well, you go first, because mine's a trivia question.
Oh, I love trivia. We took second place in trivia at Lumberbeard on Tuesday.
By only cheating a couple times, so I heard.
Who'd you hear that from?
I actually read it in the paper.
Interesting.
Spokesman, heard of it?
Yeah, I have heard of the Spokesman Review. The Spokesman Review. All right. My sports fact of the day. 49ers great and Hall of Famer Steve Young is the great grandson of none other than Brigham Young himself.
Whoa.
That's pretty crazy.
Wow. All right.
Like the outside of, what is it? Is it John Smith? What's
I think so, yeah.
Outside of John Smith, Brigham Young is Church of Latter-day Saints. That's pretty. It just seems weird.
Well, yeah.
Fun
what
fact.
a coincidence.
Yeah,
okay.
very, very.
You ready for yours?
All right,
I'm going to give you four. I'm going to give you
four
options.
A, B, C, D. Okay.
Yep. Okay. So, who was the only person in NBA history to be named Most Valuable Player, Coach of the Year, and Executive of the Year? And your options are Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson, Bill Russell, and Larry Bird.
Bill Russell.
That was my first guess too.
Oh, darn it!
Incorrect.
Okay, hold on. Let me give one more guess here. I don't think Michael was a coach. Was Larry a coach? Who was the other option?
Phil Jackson.
Ooh, it's Phil Jackson.
That was my second
Darn
guess too.
it!
I got it wrong.
Way. Okay, fine. Let me do it. Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Okay. God.
Ooh, yeah. Got him.
Shoot.
Yeah, I know. That was tougher than expected. Yeah, I thought that was going to be a cakewalk.
Larry Bird? He was a coach for who?
The Pacers. Dude, he almost took that team to the NBA Finals, and then that was like in the Last Dance documentary where he and Jordan met in the stadium after the game, and he was like, F you.
Who was he an executive for? With Pacers,
I assume the Pacers
would be my guess too.
Yeah. I know.
Oh yeah, executive. He won that award 9 years ago. He won that award in 2012. Executive of the year. That's weird.
You got Paul George, little Roy Hibbert, Danny Granger.
I guess. I just never thought about it. Coach of the year in 1998. Interesting. All right, that was fun. Nicely done.
You got it.
All right, I'll go first. Jabroni. Dusty Baker, the dusty old Dusty Baker, who is, I think, the second oldest coach in the league right now behind
Tommy LaRosa?
Tommy LaRosa. Tony.
No, Tony.
You're thinking
Is that
Tommy
also
Lloyd.
his last name?
LaRussa.
Nailed it.
You screwed me up there. Yeah, so Dusty Baker, 71 years old, manager of the Houston Astros. Yeah, what a very terrible job to take, not because the Astros are bad, but because of what he has to deal with all season. So I have a couple of photos here that I want to show first of the Houston Astros game. Was it just a couple days ago, I want to say. They were in Anaheim playing the Angels, and these are garbage cans perched on I want to say it looks like the right center field wall. Maybe, yeah, right center probably, maybe even center. And that's awesome. That's hilarious to me.
Yeah, that's good.
Here's a couple of videos too. My Jabroni is Dusty Baker. I'll get to him in a second, but let's just watch a couple of these videos. So there's an inflatable garbage can that was tossed onto the field during the game. And the announcers here are talking like, oh yeah, that appears to be an inflatable garbage can.
It's like, yes, I'm sure it could be.
Nice shot. And here's a guy who grabbed one of the garbage cans from the concourse. It looks like the same guy who put it on the rail. And he's in here slapping the garbage can. And so if you're not familiar with what happened here, the reason why this is hilarious, everybody outside of the Astros fan base, this is funny because the Astros were caught and confirmed to be cheating for a couple seasons using a garbage can to direct players which pitches were coming their way. They used a video camera that went into the clubhouse, which in turn a guy was in the clubhouse spanking a garbage can to tell the batter what pitch was coming. Anyway, manager Dusty Baker expressed a lot of his displeasure with the fans in Oakland and Anaheim about the heckling in response to the sign stealing scandal that has plagued the Astros here for the last couple of seasons. It got so high that all of these things happened, and Dusty Baker got even more mad about what was going on. And my response to that is, hey, Dusty, you realize there were no fans allowed in the stands last year, right? The entire revenge tour of the rest of baseball never happened. And so I think it's awesome that fans are booing these players and getting on them because they deserve it. Dusty Baker said, you can tell the amount of hostility and the amount of hatred in the stands. How many in the stands have never done anything wrong in their life? We paid the price for it. How many people have not cheated on a test or whatever at some point in their life?
They paid no price.
It's easy. You live in a glass house. It's easy if you live in glass houses, but I don't think anybody lives in glass houses. I think sometimes we need to look at ourselves before we spew hate on somebody else. Okay, a few things here. You're right. They didn't get
AJ Hinch was the only one that
their manager and GM got slaps on the wrist. And there were almost no repercussions from this. And even all of baseball, from analysts to players to every other fans outside of Manfred, the commissioner, and the Astros fans were like, this was so soft. Like, they handled the situation so softly. So I think it's ridiculous that that Dusty Baker would come out and defend his team and talk about hate, spewing hate.
Yeah.
So we're spreading this idea that that it's hateful to boo players, not because of any other reason other than the fact that they cheated. Let's make that very clear. These players, a good portion of which were on this team when they were cheating, we hate them because we boo at them. No, we hate what you did, and you are garbage players because of it.
I mean, that's what people do all the time when they don't actually have a logically based argument, that they shroud themselves in this emotional high horse, and it's like, anything that you do against what I am wrapping myself in right now is hate.
Yeah,
So the only thing I don't feel bad for Dusty Baker because he chose to take the job. However, obviously he wasn't a part of any of what happened with the Astros. But Carlos Correa is still on the team, and Carlos Correa is more of a jackass than Dusty Baker will ever.
Yeah, I don't like Correa. I also don't like Jose Altuve.
Yeah, fair, but he's short. So
he is short and stout.
Nice.
All right,
okay.
Jabroni, Dusty Baker, stop complaining and whining about being booed.
Okay, my Jabroni of the week, spatial awareness or lack thereof. So this looks like it was at Safeco Field
Nice.
The other night. Couple, the woman happened to be wearing Mariners gear, and the man happened to be a White Sox fan. I'm not sure what she was doing on top of the seat to begin with, but you see the splash right there between the two chairs below them, and you know that $18 22-ounce beer just got kicked, and he's looking up to the heavens like, why did I bring her to this baseball game?
Oh God, because
trying to enjoy his fries. And she just, you got to look down below. You got to look down below.
That is the worst part about that stadium, and I understand why they have to do it.
A quarter of his salary just went out, guzzling and dripping down the steps of T-Mobile Park.
Yeah, those locations of the cup holders are brutal.
Man, the face.
You can just see it. Oh no,
the face.
Okay,
it's
hopefully
painful.
this is one of those times where he looks over and is like, this lady that I'm here at this game with, this Mariners fan just dumped my beer. We lost this game. That relationship might be finished.
It might be. I don't even know what the merits or the foundation of it was to begin with, so who knows? Could have been in hot water.
If that's a weak foundation, that's a look right there looking up like, God, what did I do to deserve this woman?
Yep.
What? And it's not like a what, like it's not a what did I do to deserve this woman? It's more like, what did I do to deserve this woman here?
And in a way, like, I feel bad for her because obviously it was an accident. She didn't mean to do it, but at the same time, like,
or
Jesus Christ.
Or we're looking at it all wrong. Maybe she did it on purpose. He's an alcoholic, and we have her to thank. Don't say. I mean, that's what I would.
I have nothing to add.
That's what I would tell people if they're like, well, my significant other's an alcoholic. Just knock their beer over at the next baseball game. Problem solved.
Hit them where it hurts.
Problem solved. All right. I think we have one last segment here.
Yeah, some closing.
Let's go with yours first.
Okay,
your closing time.
I got another video. What's up? So this is outside of Wrigley Field. A couple days ago, one of their matchups over the weekend, you got a kid puking. You got people attempting to beat the hell out of each other. I don't know. I think those are Bud Lights. Actually. Anyway, I think Big Cat tweeted this, and he's like, Wrigleyville is all the way back. And so
lights for sure.
all of the MLB stadiums are allowing at least some capacity for fans. And so it's nice to see fans at all of the baseball nights. It really is, especially in conjunction to past fall and just seeing cutouts and seats. But okay, so this is kind of like a bigger thing that I wanted to open up. But with things kind of opening back up, knock on wood, in places around the country and venues like these for sporting events, concerts, bars, things like that, do you think it's just going to absolutely be a free-for-all for everybody? Sex, violence, everything in between.
Yeah.
Just is it going to be, and how long is this going to last?
So did you say like everything? You're not just focusing on sporting events, but like everything?
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. Well, for sure. Because so I can only imagine. So we see what we see in Spokane, right? Like we have some places that are pretty loud, pretty wild, pretty rambunctious.
Well, let's be honest. In Spokane, it has not been as closed down as some sections of the country.
Right. And so imagine like what we see, which we see a little bit of things opening up. We see a little bit of craziness going on, but things are going to be. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's going to look like in some of these bars come June.
Like in LA, in New York, in Chicago,
probably
like the places that. Well, I guess that's what we're seeing
in
Chicago.
You're gonna get guys who have been cooped up for a year, who are on the prowl.
Women as well,
and not prowl as in a bad way. Like, I mean, hopefully they do it the right way.
Right.
And you're gonna get women who are in the exact same boat, who've been cooped up and who are ready to be prowled on.
Look at
them prowl on themselves, ready to prowl themselves as well. You know, some lionesses. Some lions and lionesses being let out of their cages, and it's going to be a feeding frenzy.
There we go. Booyah.
No, for sure. Like this is, I mean, you saw that kid who was just, I mean, puking his guts out on the sidewalk.
After.
I
love that kid.
That was that. That's
he looked like he just got taken to his first frat party. He's still freshly like 18.
That's the guy who just got hazed, and you can't tell me hazing doesn't happen. I know it does. And so he definitely was hazed all of that game. So no, it's gonna be a feeding frenzy. It's gonna be actually pretty entertaining to watch. It's gonna force me to be more sober so I can enjoy like watching people. I can't imagine what's gonna, because again, before everything got closed down, it still gets pretty rowdy in some cases. Like I can't imagine what it's gonna be like when people actually start to commingle again.
In summation, nature is healing. Perhaps we will heal too harshly,
and then have to heal after that again. We'll see.
Perpetual.
That was
healing.
funny. That was good. That was a good little segment there.
Thank you.
All right, Masters are happening right now.
Oh yeah.
We have all weekend of golf. Last time the Masters happened was just in November. with no fans, no spectators, I should probably call them more so than fans. No spectators. What actually happened already this morning, and I haven't watched the video yet, but Rory McIlroy has already hit his dad with an errant shot at the Masters.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he had a bad approach play and hit his dad with a golf ball, so that's pretty funny. Good start. I'm gonna go with Dustin Johnson back to back.
Ooh, yeah, not gonna happen.
He shot under 20 in November.
Yeah.
Tied the record. Like, I don't know why. I'm hopping on the Dustin Johnson train right now.
I'm going to go John Rahm because the people that seem like they know golf are super into John Rahm, and I kind of just like the way the name comes off. I think he's Italian. Maybe he's a Spaniard.
He might be.
Not sure. Anyway, I love and I would love to know. I mean, I hear them explain it, but when people make their choices for a golfer to win a tournament, I'm always just like, how do we even try to begin to calculate these projections? I guess
Spieth hasn't won a title since 2017. He just won one, but he hadn't won in 4 years. Like, how do you? I don't understand.
He's the all-time head case. He is in his head at all times. Oh man.
I don't. Masters.
Spieth will not win.
No.
Rory will not win.
Tiger won't win.
Probably not. Still holding out hope. Outside of those two, I think anybody's got a chance.
Even Mickelson, good old buddy.
Did with those Cavs, can't count him out.
Not a chance. But he definitely needs to go to the senior league for sure. Yeah, I think so. So we'll keep an eye on that this weekend. I'm not going to watch that much. Golf's boring to me, unfortunately. The problem is golf needs another Tiger.
Yeah, and they keep trying to give it to somebody. So we did the Spieth thing, and before Spieth, we did the Rory McIlroy thing.
Yep.
And to be honest, my personal favorite is Brooks Koepka. Just because he's got like a Jay Cutler-ism to him, where it's like golf isn't his passion, but he's so damn good at doing it. And he doesn't take himself seriously. He doesn't take the sport too seriously. And there's something, I love people that are diehards, that are passionate, that live, breathe, bleed, whatever their respective sport is. But I also have an affinity for these guys that can just do it to do it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it makes no difference to them. They're getting a check. They're living a lavish lifestyle. And they're like, you know what? You can't faze me. If I win, sick. If I lose, don't care. And I just love it.
That seems like Kyrie to me. Like, Kyrie seems like he has this, because he believes that he has this higher calling that because if he cared enough about basketball, he wouldn't miss it for his birthday or whatever else he was doing. Like, it just kind of seems like the same thing.
Yeah,
but
in a different way. But I understand what you're getting at.
Definitely different way. So we'll keep an eye on the Masters this weekend, see how it all plays out. Not that excited about it, but I will keep an eye on it. Okay, so it's not the Senior League, as I get corrected here by my buddy Scotty. It's the Champions Tour. So it is what it is. It is nice that they call it the Champions Tour. Like, it makes it sound a little bit more fancy.
Yeah, they're diplomatic.
And built up, but they're old. They can't play anymore. Phil can't play anymore. That poor guy he hit a 10 on a par 3 or par 4, whatever he did. Unfortunate, but that's golf for you.
Man of the people.
Man of the people. Lefty Phil Mickelson taking over the reins of the old man on the tour. Yeah. Thank you, Derek Coleman.
I almost said it. Castillo's hits a deep fly ball. I don't know why. That just came up.
That little pause
just
right
popped
there.
into my
that little pause in the action. So, Derek Coleman show number 40. We got number 41 next week.
Yes, sir.
As far as we understand. Sam will be back. Right now we have Vincent taking over the producing set at the moment. He's doing a good job. Thank you, Vincent. And we'll see what happens next week between now and then. But until then, enjoy the Masters this weekend. Enjoy this kind of lull, actually, in most sports right now, but we'll keep you going. We'll keep you moving here moving forward here on the Locker Room. Thanks for tuning in again for another edition of the Locker Room. We'll see you here next week. I am your host, Justin Reed, alongside Andrew Tenney. Have a nice weekend.
Thanks for watching the Locker Room on Spokane Talks. Check us out on Facebook as well as our other platforms. We want to hear from you. Join the conversation by emailing us at info@SpokaneTalksOnline.com. And for more sports news, opinions, and content, follow Justin and me on Twitter.